gonna make a start because we have a fair bit actually of really interesting topics to discuss today, and I want first of all to welcome everyone here in this session today, and in particular the panelists who have contributed tonight their time, but also everyone joining us today in this session. It will be all about windows and what solutions can we apply to make them more energy efficient, to reduce our bills in general, but also to create really comfortable homes. So I'm really pleased to have a great team tonight in this session. But before we jump in and introduce everyone, I really want to run through acknowledgement of country. So in the spirit of reconciliation, Evitat acknowledges the traditional custodians of country throughout Australia and their connections to land, sea, and community. So we pay today our respect to their elders past, present, and emerging, and extend that respect to all Aborigines and Torres Strait Islanders people today. We are here in particular today to listen, learn, and build a future together. So today I want to welcome Thermotek Windows Michael Collins. You will have in a few minutes the opportunity to introduce yourself, Annette Braagaard and Karin from Nordic Blinds, and Daniel Beaton, who will be representing and talking about his renovation journey, and he's also a member of the Evitat team. So I'm really welcoming you everyone to today's session. And I also want to highlight, we have, of course, our host, Simone Schenkel, passive house expert and already part of the Evitat team for quite a while, and myself as a co-host and co-founder of Evitat as well. So I will hand it over, Simone, to you to introduce everyone and to give everyone the opportunity to say a few things, and then we can jump into the questions we have prepared tonight.
So I had muted myself because I had a barking puppy behind me, but yes, so welcome everyone. It's great to be here and to have such great people with us again tonight here to talk about windows and the more important things, window shading and things like that, which is often forgotten. And so what I would like to do as a starting point first is, like Sonja had said, that you all could kind of introduce yourself a little bit, and would be great if you can give us a little bit of an introduction, where are you at, or, where are you and what are you doing? Maybe we start with the women first. Karin?
Yeah, okay, so that's me. I'm a Danish national originally, and have been working with Nordic Blinds for just over 4 years, because my friend of 25 years, Annette, and I met, and she started this adventure, I don't know, 16 years ago. So I came into it through her and have really fallen in love with it, and I'm still learning, even though I've been doing it for years, and get very excited about what we do and the award she just won.
Well done.
Yeah.
Speaking of which, Annette, can you tell us a little bit about yourself and about this amazing award? Congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you. Yes, so I'm Annette. I am from Denmark, and I first came to Australia and lived in Melbourne for 8 years. I've never been as cold inside a house in my life as I have been in Australia. So we moved to Canberra and we renovated here, put in amazing PVC tilt and turn windows, and came across a product from Germany, Cozy Floor Blinds, and I contacted the company and I said, hey, I want to work with you. I really want to introduce this product into Australia. And here we are. So, I met with them when I was in Europe, and was very excited about the prospect of being able to introduce this product. and I still remain excited about it.
Mhm.
The award that we just won was what we are doing. We like to lower our own personal footprint as well. And back in 2019, we purchased our first electric vehicle. That followed soon by another one. And last year we got the third one. So we've got 3 people in Canberra who all need a car. So now we are fully electric, which is fantastic. We do a lot of driving. We drive interstate as well. And everything inside Canberra is obviously powered by the sun from our own solar panels. Outside of Canberra, we go to other charging stations. But it is so good to be driving electric vehicles around. On top of that, because we are importing from Europe, we decided long ago to work with Green Fleet. So I speak with them every year and work out, okay, this is how much freight we've used, what do we do, and how much do we donate in order to essentially to nullify the emissions. So yeah, so that's what we do.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
And
we got recognised by the ACT government just last week, which was really nice to have that acknowledgement as well.
Wonderful. Yep.
Well done.
Thank you.
Yeah, this is really great. I have to say, in particular, you know, knowing that companies are really dedicated and really doing their part on their side is a big difference. So I saw also the post, and congratulations again. I think this is fantastic.
You have to tell us much more about it shortly. Okay, Michael, can you give us a little introduction about you and Thermotek?
Absolutely. So beautifully said earlier too, and congratulations, Annette and team. That's fantastic news. So I've been in the building industry, associated industry for, and I'm revealing my age somewhat now, which is scary, but about 40 years now. So with that, the great thing about the years of that is watching the evolution of home building in Australia. And as I get older, you go outside of Australia and you experience different concepts and understandings. You realize how poor our homes are. And the old saying, we live in glorified tents, expensive glorified tents, cannot be emphasized enough. And even though we watch the changes, we tend to have in Australia a she'll be right attitude, which we can all hear and relate to and somewhat hear. And that's what we take. We say, oh, well, that's okay. Near enough's good enough. And yet the rest of the world is striving so fast. I often look at Australia as, in the building industry, as the last person across the finishing line. If you were to watch a race and see the other countries well ahead, they're like years ahead. Even our neighbour, the one that we often, you know, muck around and malign a little, New Zealand is years ahead. So seeing that, and yet we've never really caught up. And going into different fields within the building industry, like architectural, different types of hardware, window industry, you know, and many other parts of it, we still see that, why aren't we catching up? And so the great thing with Thermotek is we're a group of people got together who are in manufacturing industry with a great deal of talent, like huge amounts of talent, but the same frustration. Why do we put up with it? Why are we accepting it? And as you said, Annette, perfectly before, is that you see people coming from, and Simone and Daniel know that you're coming from, and as yourself too, Karin, that you're coming from extreme cold climates where it's snow blizzards, and you're coming here. We have reasonably mild winters, say, compared to certain countries, and yet we're freezing. It's incredible. Why? And yet we put up with it. We just go, oh yeah, we'll put the heater on. Oh, okay, whatever. But we're still uncomfortable. So our homes then are sick. Our homes are unhealthy. So getting together with the philosophy of, hey, no, let's educate. And this is what we're doing right now, is educating people to say, hey, no, you don't have to accept that. We now have the products available to say, no, we can make your home healthy. You don't have to settle anymore. You can. We now can do that. And we looked around for different products. We looked around too, not just for making the home healthy, but also to what it gives back to ourselves, but also to our planets and our future. So when we looked around at window systems, we looked around, okay, windows is the biggest component that we love, glass in Australia. We love big windows. but that's where all the energy goes, straight through the window, that thin and multiple sheet of glad wrap for the function that it does. So we thought, okay, let's get into windows. Now, how do we do this? What type of windows? So we looked at different types, and timber is a beautiful natural thermal product, but it's also to the continuation of the product. How long has it got? So do we go into, sustainable forests and everything like that? We thought, look, that's critical that we look after the planet. Then we looked at other ones, and then we think about, okay, what's the carbon print, the smeltering, etc. So we looked at uPVC. I'd seen them before, and we looked at that and we thought, okay, what is it? So we actually realized that the U in uPVC is critical because it means unplasticized. Because a lot of people will say, I've got to say, hey, don't forget the U, because that's very critical. So what that means is that it's very, very low chemicals. The product that we utilize too is that it's the most current product on the market. So that's very critical to us too in our philosophy, that you could fly to Germany, you could fly to Canada, and you will be able to get this product off the shelf. It is an old technology that we're being dumped into Australia because of our ignorance when it comes to this kind of thing. So we're taking advantage of. With us, our philosophy is no, you have the most current, you have everything that is carbon low. So the other thing is the carbon print prior to construction. So a lot of people who are watching this will probably think, hey, I want to save energy, but also want to contribute back to the planet. Well, guess what? You can actually reduce your carbon print and save energy at the same time. And that means the product you get, once it's delivered and installed into your home, there's a carbon print. So with our product, because 70% of it is recycled, your carbon print is low. So the saving energy that you're doing, you're actually contributing to the planet straight away, rather than something that has a very high carbon print. Therefore, it takes you years before you even get to the point that you've actually got a net rating and then start giving something back to the planet. So it's all these different types of education, which we're doing again, as I said earlier tonight, is teaching people that, hey, you not only have to not accept having an unhealthy home, but you can also not accept having an unhealthy planet at the same time. And they work in together as well. I'll just finish with this part too, and I use this one all the time, and you can Google this for those that are listening. When the World Health Organization came out last year and said, not thinking of Australia, but how this resonates, is that if your home is under 18 degrees Celsius, it's unhealthy. Those were the words. And yet in Australia, when you put that to people, we go, wow, that's heaven. That says it all. That really says it all.
Can I just jump in, because I think this is a really, really important message, and I love that you have also tapped into the circular product components of Thermotek windows.
Yes,
because it is actually a part which will play a huge role also in future decisions around construction, building, and so on. And it will also affect renovations, because now we need to comply with the new regulations for 7-star rating. And it affects also, in particular, major renovations. So I think looking at embodied carbon, looking at circularity of products manufactured in that way is a really big driver actually to reduce the environmental footprint and the carbon footprint. And that's to said, this is exactly why we have chosen actually to collaborate with Thermotek as well as with Nordic Blinds, because both companies are really committed and really engaged actually in this process. And this is something we really want to highlight continuously, also to align with future requirements and so on. So thank you for this explanation. And it's a really important message, in particular also to look into how underperforming our homes are here in Australia. And like you said, we are not often enough not reaching even the minimum standard of 18 degrees. And this is actually not acceptable. And in particular, when we are looking even at properties which are on the rental market, they are not suitable often enough for the standards required. And this is how we can make a big change. But it will, as simple as this, it will basically contribute to better outcomes for your family, and will really contribute to better health in your home, and really feeling comfortable. And this is something I can only encourage people really to experience. And even if it's booking maybe an Airbnb with really good, like for example, with well maintained actually windows with a good thermal envelope, and experience the difference. A passive house could as well suit as a great example. And with that, Daniel, maybe introduce yourself a little bit and why we have added you today into this conversation.
Hi guys, thank you, Sonja. I'll have to apologize. There's a small yappy dog in the office here too, so you might hear a bit of that. Hi, I'm Daniel Beaton, everyone. I've been at Evitat for just 2 months now. And before that, I was for about 5 years in residential renewables and energy efficiency. I was kind of working with individual households and on kind of wider state and local government projects and programs, which was really cool. And yeah, I guess I'm here because 3 years ago, all start of COVID, I bought a place in Melbourne's north. So I had plenty of time to be in the house and think about renovations, and I've kind of been on a 3-year renovation and electrification journey. So I'm here to talk about and show you some photos and the like of what I've been doing with my windows and the trials and tribulations there. So we can probably tap into that after the discussion and before we have a bit of a Q&A. Yeah, so I'll throw back to you, Simone, but I might just pop a poll up just to get us started, just about kind of just seeing where everyone's at in terms of what kind of windows and window dressings they already have. And the chat function for everyone should now be enabled. So if anyone has any questions throughout the session, just pop your questions in the chat and we will endeavor to get to all of them. Thank you.
Yeah. Wonderful. Thanks a lot for the introductions. And yeah, Sonja, I think, like you said, with, you need to experience energy efficient homes. So maybe one day we really have to line up a site visit or a site tour for my own passive house. If I manage to get the garden sorted and the house cleaned with the kids. But yeah, it would be a good opportunity for people to see how it actually should feel, and that it's actually nice inside the room. So I'm sitting now inside here, there is not even a heater close by, and it's just nice and warm, which is great. Yeah, so maybe let's start back with you, Michael. Like I said, you talked already quite a bit about circularity and the durability of your product, which is amazing. But maybe let's go a little bit more practical. So, if someone wants to look at, new windows or doors for their home, what are some biggest mistakes that you see when people actually plan for their windows?
That's a great question, and it can be quite a long list. However, the general one is where once you change your windows with our windows, that sounds funny, but changing your windows is that with the frame and the glazing is that you're changing the dynamics. So don't forget, if you're insulating your home, your walls, your roofing and your whole envelope, and of course the biggest area is the glass area where most of the energy goes. So we're changing the windows. You've got to remember you're changing the dynamics of it. Currently, you look around your home and you see how many windows open. Generally, we have every little crevice. It has a winding window that opens up. The reason it has that, of course, is because the house gets scorching hot in summer, and you come home and you want to open it up and just let all the heat out, the bad energy out. And when you're in winter, of course, they warp and so forth. So not necessarily a mistake. It's more a design feature with this. The beauty is now you can be more creative, because what you're doing is you're changing the dynamics that, okay, it's more comfortable, it's more insulated. So what am I doing? What am I wanting openings for? And that is really to ventilate, to let fresh air through and just gently ventilate. There's many great designs with it as well that are very common overseas, like the tilt and turns windows, which are designed to allow air to come in through the sides of the window. And as the air moves, it actually circulates the old air out over the top of the window. Brilliant, very, very, very common overseas. Takes a little while to get used to it. It's kind of like driving a manual, but you're getting used to it. It's with the movement of it. The other factor is, of course, is that then there's the other designs and with sliding doors and openings as well. So it's really more about design features, but also at the moment, what they're doing is they forget the critical part with our product is the frame, because though the glass is very, very important, critical, it's also the frame is just as critical as the glass. So what happens is a lot of people don't realize if the glass is not, the frame is not insulated, it will affect the glass. So with our framing system, it actually is neutral. So therefore it allows the glass to perform to its maximum. I do use this analogy. If you were to get something like, if we all see it, you walk past a shop and you see aluminium commercial grade, it's got a thick hollow tube. You put double glazing in that, a lot of people go, oh, I've got double glazed windows, so I should be cool in summer and warm in winter. And I go, actually, no. And they go, what do you mean? And I'll say, okay, if it's a warm day, you put your hand on aluminium or any form of metal, guess what? It conducts. So that energy now goes into the glass. So if you've got a westerly window and you've got just a commercial grade aluminium and you've got double glazed in between it, the frame gets hot and you can put your hand on it and tell you that. Now, guess where the heat goes? It has to go somewhere. So that energy now goes into the glass. So now you've actually got, guess what? A heater in your window that you thought you were going to save money on. And guess what? You have to also wait till autumn, because unless the frame cools, the glass can't cool. So that's where a lot of the mistakes are, is understanding. It's the double glazed word was very, very new some years ago. And that was getting it out, because a lot of people think, what is double glaze? Like, sad. This is not long ago too. This is like even up to a few years ago, that people didn't realize what double glaze meant. They just actually thought it was just two pieces of glass stuck together, not realizing how important that is. But it's not, now we're moving, that they're getting an understanding, but there's also an understanding too of the low E, which we'll talk about later when we go into more technical, but it's the idea that it's not just the glass, it's the frame, it's the whole thing, the whole opening and how it works for you, the function of it. I hope that helps, huh?
Exactly. And one thing what I often tell people is what people don't understand, even the best, even triple or quadruple glazing is not as good as an insulated wall. So, you know, even
Correct.
if good glazing, you still lose a little bit of heat through it. So you have to be a bit mindful on where you place your windows and how much glazing you have. And the other big factor on top of the frames, it's also how the window is actually installed. Because I've seen cases in the past, you know, where people had a double glazed window, but then they were not installed properly. The insulation just stopped and there were gaps in between the frame and the window. You can't do that either. So, you know, if you need a good, if you have a good double glazed window, it has to be installed properly, or you might, you know, you might not even need it, or you can keep with the single glazing if you don't do it properly.
Well said, Simone. And you're right. Absolutely. I've seen that myself. You're right. It's many things. It's the glass, the frame, and the installation, because a lot of people, you can see the gaps, or when you retrofit, for example, if you pull out an old window now, and most people, 99.9%, unless their house has been insulated well before, which is unlikely, you pull that out, you've got air gap, just air, just sitting there. That's just moving around and it's going to leak. So you've got a leak. And unless it's insulated, and you're right with the walls, because it needs to be, okay, the glass, it will still leak somewhat through it. And then the position of that. So if you've got northerlies where you want a bit more warmth coming in, then you get different forms of glass. But if you've got west where the sun comes down, you've got to factor in, okay, how much glass do I have there? How big and how much heat can it repel to allow stop that from sun coming in during the summer?
That's true. Can you maybe give our listeners some advice about cost savings ideas, you know, when you design your windows and doors?
Yep, great. It is all relative, of course, but on general, they say 45% of your heating. So we're going into winter now, so let's use heating, and we're in Melbourne, so a lot of long winters. And so what that means is that generally it's most of the heat goes through your glass. Because even though our homes are poorly built, believe me, as I was saying earlier, you've got a brick veneer. People think that you've just got a brick and you've got a hole there and you've got a little thin bit of plasterboard. The window is the worst part because it's just a thin strip of glass. So most of your heating is going out through the glass. Let's say we change that, just changing the glass and putting it in and insulating it in before, in the walls prior to actually putting our window in. So that's what we do. So what we do is we pull out your old window, we will take away your reveal because there's a hole there. There's just hole. So we will seal all that frame. before we even put the reveal back in, which is the timber frame that goes inside your window. So we will seal all that completely and wrap it so it's fully sealed off. Then we put that square box in. So therefore, there's no chance of any form of leak because you've got to have still got cavity through the whole wall itself. Then we'll put our window in. If you do that, you're looking at 20% minimum saving. On average, I say 20%. Some say more, but it is all relative. I can give you a great example of this, and this is actually a real great one. We have been doing a development on top of Mount Hoffman, and I didn't know this. It's just like, you can imagine right on top of Mount Hoffman, snowdrift. It's the coldest village in Australia. And I thought, no, really? And checked it. It's true. Because where this resort is, it's right on top of Mount Hoffman, and it's between two valleys. So it gets all the cold wind and the snow just hammers it. They've been putting our windows in and doors in as replacements, and they love it. So we're doing different stages. We can only do it during the dry season, of course. One of the guy who's actually installing them, he's a builder, he's doing a bit of renovation there. He's actually got an apartment there. And we were talking about the new lot that are coming in next spring. So he said to me, he goes, you know what I love? He goes, I'll tell you how much energy I've saved. I'll put your windows in, I'll put your sliding doors in. I haven't fully insulated the walls, and already I've saved 20% energy. And that's incredible. So it does make such a difference. So I always say allow 20%. And of course, guess what? When you take 20% of something that's always continuously rising, as we're hearing in the news and everything, that's a lot of money that you're saving.
Yeah, that is a lot of money. Also, maybe if people think, about upgrading their home and they're considering double glazing or triple glazing even, what would you tell those people? What should they take into consideration for their home?
Yeah, so it does come down to position, orientation of the home in respect to where the windows are sitting, north, west, etc. Also to environment, whether they're buildings, because you may have certain places that are more darker, because mold is very prominent in a lot of these newer homes, even from the 90s and the early 2000s, because the condensation is terrible. So with this, there's no condensation on it. That's the great thing. Do we need triple glazing? Not necessarily, you don't. But it comes down to the whole envelope of the home. So we're only the windows. So if we're all just looking at this and going, hey, I really want to just do it in stages and go, I want to do my windows, which is the biggest part of energy losses, I'll say, is if you do it, do you need triple glazing? You may not. What we do too for you as well is give you an energy rating. So if you were to come to us and say, okay, Michael, I'm looking at changing some of my windows, what's the energy ratings? And the energy ratings are really, really terrific. So if we look at the U value, the lower the U value, the better performance it is. So with a double glazed window with our frame, we can actually get 2 less. So 1.7 to 2, which is really low. On general windows, even double glazed standard, you're looking like 4, that's very high. Other places, they just look at you and go, what are you building that for? Here in Australia, we think that's quite good. Because don't forget, we used to have 5-star and think that was good. Then we got 6, now we're looking at 7. So triple glazing, you can get the 1.1, which is very low. So it's just all dependent. I personally, and then there's the associated costs with it. But the good thing is you can actually, if you really needed triple glazing, we can help you with that and assist you to decide whether you really need it and give you a rating average on that. So you may have it on one side of the wall as well. So because it's extremely cold. I'm not going to really promote it in the sense because I know it's not television, but we did do the block last year, and that was way out Kilmore way. It's quite windy and so forth, and that's all triple glazed. So if you go on our website and you have a look through that, really big solid window pieces, but they went a little bit crazy on that. So they did triple glazing. Do you need it in Australia? Not really. Here, I see it as this. What Annette was saying earlier, coming here for feeling cold, is we don't have those heavy winters, but what we want to do is we want to be comfortable. So double glazing, if it's sealed right and properly done, you will be very comfortable.
I think the big thing is also the more glazing you have and the bigger your house gets, so the higher performing the glazing needs to be.
Correct.
So if people build huge mansions, that's what happened with the block, I guess, because the houses are so big.
Correct.
Just in order to get a somewhat okay energy rating, they needed those high-performing tubular glazed windows. Versus if you come up with a bit smarter home designs and you have smarter window designs, typically double glazing is all you need.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, right. And we in Australia, unfortunately, we love a lot of glass. So in some cases, and if you're going to do massive amounts of glass, yeah, you're going to have to upgrade your glass. Absolutely. That's why, like passive homes and that, they reduce the glass and window sizes to reduce that impact.
Yep. And then also what's quite exciting is that we understand with the federal budget that the double glazed windows, amongst other things to be announced, will be included in the low interest loan scheme for green renovations. Have you seen any inquiries come in regarding this yet? And do you have any thoughts about that?
Yeah, I think it's a great way to go. We can invest that people start making our homes healthier. There's so many run-on costs on that. One, people save energy, which is the big thing. A lot of people, sadly, can't even afford to turn a heater on. We're hearing about getting blanket donations, which is tragic. But the run-on effect is, yes, they have announced it. I do know that a lot of financial institutions like banks actually give you a great, very, very extremely low interest rates and as well. For if you improve your home energy-wise, make it more efficient, if you go to your bank, they will give you a terrific deal. We are also about to launch what you were just saying earlier there, Simone, a greens payment plan loan as well to assist people to really upgrade their homes and their windows and so forth like that. And that'll be announced very soon too.
That's good. That's terrific, Michael. Before we head over to Nordic Blinds, is there anything you might want to add that we haven't talked about yet?
No, I think it's all about research, and the great thing is those that are listening in on this and joined in obviously have a great interest, and that's fantastic. So what we do at Thermotek is that we encourage that. So people are welcome to come in contact. We do have a showroom. They can touch and feel the product as well. However, also too, it's understanding, don't forget, it's not just double glazing, because it's not glass is not glass either. So it's all about the different forms of glass, what low E does. Low E is critical. We always do low E. Some places I know don't even do what low E because to keep the cost down. It's not that much more. It's insignificant with us in using low E. That keeps what low E does, for those that don't realize what that is, on the secondary, the inside part of the glass. So you'll have outer piece of glass, then you've got an argon-filled gas, which is the thermal property. Then you'll have an inside glass, and that is coated with low E. You don't even know it's there. So what the low E basically does is, as the UV comes in, it comes straight through. If it comes through the first one, it slingshots it away. So the idea is not just to hold it back, it's actually to push it away. Low E also works in winter as well, in that what it does is when you do have your heater on as well, so you turn it on for a very short period of time, the low E actually keeps the heat in and stabilizes the environment inside. So it works in summer and winter. A lot of people just think it's for summer. So that's the benefit of it. And just remember that it's not just the glass, it's the type of glass, and it's also the frame is critical to make sure that glass performs perfectly.
Well said. And I think it's also quite important, to look at really in terms of the energy crisis, we have to reduce the energy we use in the first place. And obviously everyone is complaining that energy is so expensive, but rather than, trying to get the energy cheaper again, we have to reduce what we need, because, that's where we can make the real saving. Otherwise the money will always just go to the energy provider. So.
Well said. Sorry, Simone, can I add to that? You're 100% correct. I'll tell you a beautiful one. When I first started doing this years ago, is I go to people's houses, and in July, weather like this, you go to their home and they answer the door and they're dressed up like the abominable snowman. They've got this doona over them and everything. They layer up. And I think, okay, so if I'm in Europe right now, it's snowing outside, I'm in my underwear inside my house. And yet here it's like 13 degrees outside, Celsius, above zero, and you were freezing. And I say to them, I simply say this, okay, let's set your thermostat on your heater, put a t-shirt on, set it where you're comfortable to wear that t-shirt. Now turn it off, the heating, and let's count how long it takes. How long do you think it'll take? And they just stare at me like I'm a raving lunatic, because they go, what are you, crazy? It's going to be like straight away. It's basically, so you're right. So really, when you think about your dollars, I want people to really think about, think really, that's money every second, because all you've got is a curtain holding back the outside thing, and you're just throwing that money away, and it's going and it's going and it's going. So you think how much it costs you to earn that money, and you're just putting it away.
On that note, I really want to maybe just say a few things. This is exactly where you have probably also the biggest opportunity when you're looking at renovating your home, retrofitting, really to look into the opportunity to improve the windows, because they are such a weak point in your thermal envelope. And like Michael already explained, there are a couple of solutions, and we will hear, of course, from Nordic Blinds as well, how to improve that performance. And this is exactly where you have actually also the biggest gains to achieve, and really with certain ways. For example, you might have only a fraction of the need actually to heat than in winter, whereas usually you might run, you know, a heater all day long, because you wouldn't actually be able to sit there in a comfortable way, in particular when you're doing home office or something like that. So that is the big difference. It really brings back that reality of actually turning on the heater maybe just for half an hour, and then the heat actually constantly remains inside. And this is a good performing envelope in the end, which doesn't require so much heat or cooling in summer to perform actually at a really high standard. So I give it back to Simone.
Oh, good. Yeah, thanks so much, Michael. So let's go back to Nordic Blinds, and Annette and Karin, you told us a little bit about your background, but can you tell us a little bit more about the honeycomb blinds and your products in general?
So with the honeycomb blind, essentially what is important is when you install blinds is that you can sort of you don't create a double glazed window, obviously, but if you are installing something inside a reveal or in a PVC window, timber window, where you can put it into the frame, if you can fit it in, it's always so much better, because it's still, as Michael was also saying, like glass is still glass, and it still gets cold and it gets warm. So we do have a longer winter in Australia than what we have summer. In that long winter, like if you don't close blinds, if you just have the window exposed, so the glass pane exposed, it does get cold inside your house. So keep those blinds closed overnight time, like close them as it gets cold in the afternoon. And that way you will stop some of your heat from escaping through the glass panel. So our blinds are it's a slimline product, so it means that it can be installed in most reveals or within the window frame, which enables you to create a better seal and to stop that heat loss or gain, depending on the year. So yeah.
And what other products do you have on top of the honeycomb blinds?
We basically do roller blinds as well. We don't really do a lot. We don't promote them so much. It's a bit of an add-on, because occasionally it's a nice option to have. We have pleated blinds as well, which is similar to a roller to the honeycomb, but it's a single layer blind. So we kind of made a decision to promote the honeycomb because of the whole ethos of, okay, you want to improve your home.
We always try and
going
talk
to do any make it any better, whereas the honeycomb blind will enable you to stop that heat loss again.
We try and convert people out there who come from, say, roller blinds or pleated to try and educate them, because of course people often go, well, this is what I'm used to, I'm just going to go, and they'll say, oh, well, we just want, you know, block out whatever, but really all they need is maybe a translucent honeycomb. But you got to educate them to understand why, not force them, just explain and illustrate, and then it just, yeah, they come around.
Perfect. Can you tell us a little bit more about the blinds, about their life expectancy, or, you know, is part of them recyclable, or, you know, just more about that?
Yeah, so I mean, you would easily expect 10, 15 plus years out of your blinds. I would certainly expect at least 15 plus. As for recyclability, the actual fabric cannot be recycled, unfortunately. Not at this point in time. It may change in the future. All the hardware is all aluminium, so that can all be recycled. There's some plastic in it, very little, but most of it will be aluminium. Because they're such a minimalistic product, there's actually not a lot of material going into a blind. So yeah, so there's really not that much. But yeah, so we recycle all the aluminium. So occasionally we have mistakes, and if we can't pass the blind on to someone, we may have to actually get rid of it. But all the aluminium gets recycled. So everything in the blind other than the actual fabric will get recycled. As for the life expectancy, we always say use your blinds regularly. Don't just put them up and just leave them there. Like, the more you use them, the longer they last. Everything is better off being used, like the strings will last better. Because if it just sits either like with the sun blaring every day or just opened all the time, they will always be better off being used. They'll stay cleaner if you use them more. Because every time you use them, you're pushing all the dust. Like, they sort of don't attract dust anyway, but you will be pushing the dust off. I haven't washed my blinds. You can wash some of them. The translucent blinds, you can wash them. I certainly don't see a need for it, but I also use my blinds every day. I put them up in the afternoon. Or late or early evening, depending on the time of the year. I'll close the blinds and then I'll open them in the morning. So I use them, yeah, all the time.
Right.
It looks like there's a question, isn't there, for, yeah, I just saw that in the chat. So this is about how they fit within standard window reveal widths and how they work with tilt and turn. And that's actually what we specialize in, because you can see it in the image as well. They are slimline, which means they basically fit into any standard beading or frame within the window onto the glass. So they do sit only 5 or so mil from the glass and follow the window as it tilts and turns. That's what we promote the most, because having that sort of fit is where you get the best efficiency, and it also looks fantastic. And people can't really put, if you've had roller blinds and you put tilt and turn windows in, you know, this is why we want window companies, and Thermotek luckily works with us and tells this, but we want everyone to know, we should know this before. You know, when you shop for windows, you really want to think blinds as well at that point, especially if you're talking tilt and turn. So they pretty much fit into any standard product.
Right.
Annette and Karin, can I just maybe ask you both the basic principles actually of energy efficiency around the honeycomb blinds? Can you explain that a little bit so that everyone understands actually the basics of it and why are they so outstanding?
Yeah.
So what you're creating, so with the honeycomb, because it is a double layer, so essentially if you're installing that into the window frame or into the reveal, you are creating a layer of still air between the glass and the blind, and then another layer of still air within the honeycomb. So you're creating layers of still air between your room and the outside. In summer that works, in winter it works, because you want to keep your heat in winter, you want to keep the cold in summer if you're using the air conditioner as well.
So they're buffers.
So you want to keep the heat out. So essentially, by installing that honeycomb blind, you are stopping the airflow. If you have a standard roller blind, that's what you don't get. You have gaps right around the blind. You have gaps at the top, at the bottom, and that will. And having just a single layer, there's nothing to stop the air coming through from the window. And that's again, even with the double glazing, it still gets cool or warm for that matter. So you still want to stop that heat or cold coming through.
That's great. And we've seen some studies overseas that show that the honeycomb blinds can reduce the heating and cooling needs up to 15 or 20%. Is that your understanding experience as well, or what have you seen so far?
I can't say I've got a certain percentage as such, but that's certainly what I would say. And we sometimes hear of more as well. So it will depend a little bit on the window that you put it into. If you're putting it into a single glazed aluminium window where we're installing into the reveal and we're stopping that airflow, that percentage will be higher. But so it's really hard to give exact sort of figures, because it will depend on how you install, what you install it into, and what the window behind it will be as well.
It's a bit like Michael when he talked about the same thing around windows. Where are you putting them? How much glazing? What's the frame like? Are there leaks already? So it's really the whole.
Yeah, I think even Daniel can probably jump into this a little bit later, because he has some experience installing honeycomb blinds and has really nice comparison as well, which is a great way actually to understand that efficiency mode.
So, I mean, and even sort of, you know, with a question on the from someone with the tilt and turn windows, I mean, I am an advocate for tilt and turn windows. With our blinds installed, you have the best of both worlds. I have them throughout my house, and I absolutely love the combination. You can tilt your window, you have the blind closed. It means that you can have privacy, you can close your blind during the day or during the night, sorry, but you still enjoy the airflow from the tilted window. I try to convert anyone I talk to. I always say to them, listen, go for tilt and turn windows. There's some beautiful ones out there. Like we see them in timber alu clad, and we see the PVC as well, or uPVC. I can't forget the U now.
But also, as we've talked about, combination. Well, also when we talk comfort, you know, that it creates both for health. You know, you have that airflow running through your house, but you're not sacrificing anything. So it's a little bit of a bigger deal than just, is it nice to look at? Does it actually provide energy efficiency? Yeah, but it also creates a really good indoor climate.
That's great.
And with the tilt and turn window, if you install the blind in the window, it means that you actually continue to see your windows. I always say, I actually love seeing my windows. And the window kind of frames my blind, because I'm seeing my window frame around my blind at all times. During the day, I'll often push my blind to the bottom, because then I can see the full outside all day, or I might sort of push them, just sort of close them and have the lower part closed. So I'm still seeing the outside as well.
That's nice. And let's say if someone is a bit on a tight budget and doesn't have the money to make, you know, put the blinds into the entire house, where would you recommend them the most, or, you know, where do you get the most benefit?
Well, you definitely want to install them in the rooms that you use the most. So definitely put them into your living areas, because that's where you spend most of your time. If you have rooms, even if it is your bathrooms, you can use them in your bathrooms as well. But I usually say, listen, if you are limited on a budget, definitely look at the living areas or the rooms that you're in. You can close the door to a room that you don't use so much. But we can also work with people, you know, like they're different fabrics. So they come in all different price groups. So you can also look at, okay, well, this might be an option so that I can actually extend my budget a little bit further.
And stage it, help them to plan how they want to roll it out. Sometimes people say, oh, they ask for a quote and they say, I can't afford it. Well, you know, why don't we do it in stages? And so learn more about how people live, how do they use their rooms, so that they can actually work with you to roll it out in a way that suits them as, you know, a family unit.
Oh, that's quite different. Was actually my next question as well, you know, how to optimize the design in terms of cost. So you already said one thing is potentially staging it or different materials. Are there some other things that people could take into account?
So I would say if people are looking at, if you're renovating or if you're building, it's a good option to even speak to us. Karin said it before as well, speak to us early on, because it can be pretty awful to come out and someone saying, this is exactly what we want. And if you come in at the late stage, there's very little you can do but to work with what's there. Whereas if you come in early on, it might be that it's the window design, that if you just if you change your window design a little bit, it can actually lower the cost of your blinds. It doesn't have to change the overall window, but if you change the makeup, so you know, between if we're talking tilt and turn now, but if you split your tilt and turn and your fixed window a little bit differently, well, then you might need less blinds. So there are lots of ways to minimize, but it's really hard to do that when we come in at the end, because we are working with what we're working with.
That's why we really like the collaboration with window companies, builders, architects early in the planning phases, to just, you know, give input and assist on the way and give more information. And we learn as well through that.
Yeah, no, that's great. And then speaking, you know, if you have everyone on board, you know, if you have the builder and the window manufacturer and the client, everyone on board, are there some other things you can do to maximize the performance of the blinds? You know, you already said it, you know, with sizing or something, but are there some other things you can do to help?
Well, really, it's about what I was saying earlier. It's about how you install the blinds. So make sure that they, you know, if you have sliding doors, for instance, make sure the wall is deep enough for the blind to be fitting within the reveal rather than having it sitting outside. So if you have big handles that stick out beyond the wall, it's harder to put any window covering on. Those things are part of maximizing as well. So talking about how you install and how much room we have for a blind.
Yeah, that's great. And then another question, you know, I can see that there is a blind in the bathroom. Can you actually have them in the bathroom in a wet area, or are there some areas where you can't have them, or where you might need a special fabric or something?
So we do sometimes install honeycomb blinds in bathrooms. You do want to be a little bit more careful about them drying out. So you don't want moisture getting inside the honeycomb and then sitting closed and staying wet. You don't want them to stay wet for long. The translucent fabrics can be washed, so you can wash them in 30-degree water with a bit of detergent. But you want to dry them straight away. So if you have honeycomb blinds in a bathroom that is constantly moist or wet, they're not going to last as long.
But having said that, if it's well ventilated and most people with tilt and turn in a bathroom, they keep them open. So we give them all the information, and they're certainly, you know, they can cope with it, but you need to know how to treat them.
So I guess they can't be within the shower, but it could be in a bathroom if it's far away from water.
Yes, that's true. Yeah.
And we have installed them because people sometimes have a window in the shower. But there I would definitely say go for a pleated blind.
Yeah.
Single layer. So I have clear glass in all of it, in both of our bathrooms. I use the blind as a privacy screen because I like to see the outside. We don't have it in the shower, but if someone has a clear glass in their shower, and we do see them regularly, just use the blind, but have it as a pleated fabric. Some of them are better suited for the wet area.
Okay, is there anything we haven't talked about yet, or that we should know about your blinds, or anything else that might be of interest?
So this is not so much from an energy perspective, but more just as much from a look, which is also important. So with the honeycomb makeup that we get from Germany, it's an asymmetrical shape. What it means is that the shape is slightly straighter at the back, and then you get the honeycomb on the inside. What that means is that your honeycomb fabric will look the same from top to bottom, and it will stay that way. So you sometimes see some honeycomb fabrics where they're in symmetrical shape. Over time, gravity will take its course, the blind will straighten more at the top, and you get the pleat more so at the bottom. So it's really important to look at that, and it does make a difference because it will remain looking much better, which is also important. It's not, it is important to have it looking good for a long time, and you want the blind to stay the same. You don't want it to sort of have that flattened look and then the pleat at the bottom. So that's an important aspect as well.
And ask questions early. Just ask. Don't feel like you can't ask, because we sometimes know more than just about the blinds, and just like, Michael and others will sort of refer to someone like us. Well, we will do the same, and the more we communicate, the more we actually understand that it's part of a long process. So I'd say ask, but yeah, definitely the quality and the efficiency. So it's looks, but it's certainly also the functionality.
On that note, maybe just also to inform everyone, like we have the Evitat community, and wherever you are in your renovation journey, feel free to post things, questions, like Karin and Annette, both are also part of that community. They can jump in, answer even like these little questions along the way. And as well, actually also inquiries through the marketplace, as well as on their website. So there's a couple of opportunities to tap into these conversations and to get actually the right answers, like they both said, and even Michael, early on, so that you can plan actually ahead and really be specific and well informed along your renovation journey.
Yeah. Wonderful, that's great. So maybe then I would say, let's head over to you, Daniel, if you can tell us a bit more about your renovation story with the windows and, how you came onto the honeycomb blinds.
Yeah, cool, great. Yeah, sounds good. So everyone, hi, Daniel here again. I guess I'll be speaking more from kind of the homeowner and honeycomb blind owner perspective. But yeah, so my place, I guess my kind of journey started with buying this place in Melbourne's north. And it already generally had pretty good bones. And through my last workplace, I was doing a lot of kind of electrification stuff. So the place is double brick. I took out the gas connection before I even moved in, took out the gas ducted heating, put in reverse cycle ducted throughout the whole place, and a hot water heat pump, induction and everything. The insulation was okay. So the place is actually performing pretty well, but really the big thing was just the plastic aluminium windows, and it's just every window in the whole house is just aluminium single glaze, and you can just notice walking around that's kind of just the heat or the cold was just always coming through them. And I'm kind of lucky that the northern aspect of the house is not a lot of glazing, but you can see in this photo. So I ended up putting honeycomb blinds on the three kind of most important windows for me. So you can see in this photo, so that's the living room and the dining room where we spend most of our time. And then the third set I put in my bedroom, which is also quite close to the street, as are these two. So it's they're great for privacy and for sound dampening as well. Right outside my bedroom windows, the neighbor's gas heating thing that goes on and off, cycles all night, and the garbage truck kind of wakes me up every Thursday morning, usually. But the blinds do help, but I think double or triple glazing down the track would certainly help a lot more with those. And yeah, so I went with these honeycomb blinds, not from Nordic Blinds, unfortunately, because I didn't know you guys existed yet. Sorry about that.
You're forgiven.
All
yeah,
right.
Thank you. Well, there's still plenty of windows in the house to do. But yeah, so right now in these photos, this was just the other morning. This is in kind of, this is a 2-part system, which I think Nordic Blinds also has too.
Yeah.
And mine are not as fancy. Mine only come from the top. So you can drop down the sheer layer, which provides some protection, but you still get beautiful kind of soft light through and that privacy, which is really nice. And then you can kind of see at the top of this photo, there's that strip. So you can drop down a whole nother layer of aluminium foiled blackout honeycomb, which completely blocks out the light. Mine are really well fitted. And yeah, so kind of in the afternoon, I'll do the sheer for a while the sun's going down, and then when it's to let some light into the plants, and then just go the full blackout at nighttime. And it's just amazing in the bedroom and amazing out in these spaces as well.
Yeah. And sorry, Daniel, can I be rude and just interrupt one sec? Because you said something that we actually didn't mention, but the noise reduction is actually something that I came from a client today, and he said he thinks he's got uPVC windows put into double glaze. He said, I think I'm talking 40 to 50% less noise from a very busy street outside. So that's worth mentioning as well.
Yeah, no, it's really good for that. Yeah, and there's a childcare center across the road. So every morning, kind of 7:30, 8 o'clock, it starts getting pretty busy. So yeah, they're definitely helpful.
Yeah.
And another great thing about the ceiling is I've kind of, because these windows are so old, I'm sure a lot of other people here kind of noticed that you can kind of feel air coming in and around the actual frames of the windows. So I've done a bit of caulking around, and I'd like to do that some more on the other windows, just using Selly's kind of all weather on the outside and a kind of a nicer thing on the inside. But yeah, it's still hard to get that seal on kind of older frames.
Yeah.
But yeah, so last night I did a bit of when I got home about 9:30 last night, I did a bit of a science experiment with laser temperature gun. So it might not seem particularly obvious now, but I might just run through this. So this was about 9:30 last night. I thought I'd do some testing to kind of see what the different modes of the blinds and windows were like. Just so we can kind of get a sense on the impact on the blinds and kind of just how bad aluminium windows are. Well, mine anyway. Yeah, so this was about 9:30 last night, and it was 14 degrees outside, and it was the heating, my housemates had cranked the heating obviously, and it was about 24 degrees inside. It's probably a bit too hot, to be honest. Yeah, so when I got home, it was on the sheer honeycomb mode. So in the top left, you can see it kind of tested outside on the outside of the wall, and yeah, it was 14 degrees outside of the house. And then the next bubble down, you can see him kind of pointing the temperature at the honeycomb blind on the kind of the see-through sheer mode, and it's 21 degrees, which is a 21, 22 is quite a significant difference just in that mode, which is fantastic. And then I went back outside to check the outside temperature on the kind of the outside of the glass, and it wasn't much less than the inside, so it was quite a lot warmer. So it's like you could tell that some energy was still coming through, but obviously not as much. So then I pulled up all the blinds and just went to bare nothing, just raw glass in the frame. And so these middle photos, I took a temperature maybe 2 or 3 minutes after I took the blinds up, and you can see that the frame inside is already down to 16, 17 degrees. And outside it's already down, what sound like 15. So pretty much down to rock bottom straight away. So it kind of shows you how poor the glass performs. Yeah, and then just on the right, I came back inside and pulled down the blackout blinds with the foil lining. And a couple of minutes later, had tested it again. And yeah, 24 degrees on the inside. And what I thought was really cool was on the outside of the glass, it was pretty much the outdoor ambient temperature. It was a degree hotter, it was 15 degrees. So pretty much there was like no heat energy coming through those windows at all, which was cool.
Such a great way actually to demonstrate the efficiency, but also to demonstrate clearly, windows can be this basically like it's a hole in the wall, and it's the weakest point if they are very simple. We are in a place also with single glazed windows, and what Dania just mentioned, that heat loss and transfer is very strong. That means also coming into the kitchen in the morning with an entire wall of windows that's basically freezing cold at the moment in winter, and it takes a lot of energy to heat it up because the heat loss is so great, actually. Great in the negative sense, is really huge. Yeah? So Daniel, you have also, I think, added actually your journey into the Evitat logbook.
Yes, I have. I'm conscious we're kind of bang up on time, but yeah, let's. I think we're happy to keep going. So yeah, there was. I'll share my screen. Yeah, so there's kind of quite a long journey over the last few years of doing a bunch of different things around the house and putting in the solar and the reverse cycle. But I guess there's always lessons that you learn and things you kind of would have planned differently or done a bit differently if you'd known. And I guess since being at Evitat, we just recently launched the kind of the alpha pilot version of the logbook tool. Anyone here can jump into any of the participants, and we'll circulate a link for this at the end, and I'll put one in the chat in a second. So we're kind of piloting the logbook right now as a tool for tracking your home improvements and the impact those are making across the goals that are important to you. So we've got a bit of a demonstration here of my place. I might just have a quick look, and I'll also throw to Sonja a bit. It's a bit hard to kind of see the whole thing while I have up on Zoom as well.
There is. I think that's great. You can show in a second where you have actually added your home improvements, but in general, why we think the logbook will play actually a significant part is we have already like future buyers, for example, who are very much interested in what have you done so far? How have you improved your energy efficiency? But also in general, how have you improved towards creating a comfortable home? And these homes are already on auctions performing far better than standard homes. So this will change in future even for a better, because we will have certain mandatory disclosed information. We will require certain energy efficiency. So the investment you do today, this is exactly why the logbook is basically an opportunity to track and measure these good decisions and really turn them then in future into sustainable home value, and really adding and highlighting how it creates comfortable, healthy homes, energy efficient homes. This is our early alpha version, and we invite everyone here really to showcase what they have done, and also to participate in this alpha version. There's a lot of updates coming as well, and you can definitely benefit of it. Maybe Danielle, you can maybe show how you have added the home improvements on your side.
Yeah, great, will do. And and I guess it's with the piloting of this as well, I very much welcome people to have your say and give your feedback on what aspects are important to you or things you would like to see changed or improved. And we did say up until the end of today for the pilot, there's you go in the draw to win 1 of 10 Renew or Sanctuary magazine subscriptions, which is great. But I think for everyone here, we'll give you another day. So please feel free to jump on in. So one of the main modules is setting your home goals. So kind of, what are your sustainability home goals? And I guess across these 6 categories. So if we, as an example, jump into one, so your home goals for comfort, you can see here with various additional information. I won't expect anyone to read this now, but it's just a quick overview of, for example, various goals you can set for yourself. And for my place, because I don't have double glazed windows yet, I've set that as a goal for myself. And I'd like to do a bit more insulation and adding a bit more thermal comfort up here. And it's actually great because from this module, we can jump from the logbook to the marketplace. I don't know if that's carried across for everyone. You can see on the screen. Yes. Great. And we'll actually show you, for example, here we go. Is a honeycomb blinds from Nordic Blinds. and some various installation products, which is what I'm interested in, which is great. So that's one way that it kind of all links together. And then if we go back to the dashboard, what I've also been doing is using it to kind of log all the activities I've been doing around the house. So then that can kind of all be documented, and will in the next version be feeding back into the carbon and water impacts as well. So you can put in all of the information about what you've updated around the property, as your heating and cooling and everything to do with passive house principles. Yeah, we don't have time to go into it all now. I don't know, Sonja, if there's anything else you want to focus on, or if anyone has any questions.
No, I think this is exactly what I wanted to showcase. So Daniel has added, for example, how he has improved through the blinds, for example, the efficiency, the comfort, and other areas, of course, even things like a garden, because it is actually also contributing to having a healthy, a comfortable home, and it taps also into sustainability in general. So we really want to highlight these decisions, and that's exactly how the logbook works. So we invite you all, if you have time, to spend maybe 10 minutes to start your logbook, explore it, and be part basically of this journey. With that, I just want to share again the slides, because you can, of course, jump here in and explore also the Evitat platform. And we will be ongoing also, creating webinars to certain topics, like even today with all about windows. Like we explore sustainable home improvements, renovations, and retrofits in general. And we really want to inform, to share knowledge here. And this is really a big thank you to everyone, in particular the hosts tonight, Michael, Karin, and Annette, and in particular also Simone, because Simone is always part of these sessions, and I really appreciate all her knowledge in passive house and construction and architecture. So it's really great to have you all here tonight, but also to everyone attending tonight. And if you have any questions, feel free to jump into the community app on our website and leave your renovation journey, leave some comments around even the webinar tonight. We're more than happy to contribute also some additional information. And I think there was also a question, are there articles, for example, who can support actually Honeycomb for example, rental properties and to have better arguments? Yes, I'm pretty sure Karin and Annette can share something there as well, but also giving access to others who might be on the same journey to benefit basically from that knowledge share. So yes, thank you all for tonight. It was great to have you all, and I'm looking forward also to next webinars. And yes, please join us, and we will keep you all updated on our journey.